Welcome back to another Ab Nation show with Hockey Coach, Go Coach Franchise, directly for the beautiful country of the land of the smile and Thailand. And we have to find out tonight. We have Mr. Marco Labi, directly from Ottawa, and Mr. ENORTAP, directly from Toronto, back in the house talking about what? Tonight, we're going to talk about the Montreal Canadiens review NHL Draft 2023 with some shocking draft pick by the Montreal Canadiens by Hugo and Jeff Gordon and Ken Hughes. And then if you follow me, guys, don't forget, we have App Daily News every day. And I explained to you the Montreal Canadiens, the reason they pick David Rebacker. I was really calmed down. I was not angry about it. I was happy about that pick. But that's going to talk about this Montreal Canadiens tonight. All the pick, one by one. Probably the feeling about both of you, what you think about the Montreal Canadiens. And, of course, we want to talk at the end, the NHL winner and loser of the NHL Draft 2023. And they have the switch, everything at the UF3. So, at the end, we're going to talk about fun kind of player are available at the UF3. And that's what is happening tonight at this great special show of the Ab Nation. And before we start, for both of you, we're going to welcome everybody in the chat. A lot of people pop up slowly, properly, the right way. And they want to talk about the Atlantic Division or the Montreal Canadiens. I'm going to try the best we can to talk about this really special today with not emotion or maybe not great. A lot of people expect a lot of trait. It didn't happen. I don't know. He missed some kind of the highlights or flashing about that draft. More people was hang out day number 2 for many of them. Bill Guerin, he barely make it day number 2, by the way, but this is a subject for another time. Before we start, guys, we want to welcome a real deal. Gary is in the house. Luciano, GRAZIANO, moderator. William McClary is in the house. Sebastian, welcome back, Sebastian. A2 is in the house. Not very happy about what's going on with Montreal Canadiens. Larry Lavallée from upstate New York is in the house. Great conversation with Luciano. I love to see that, both of you. KLS, of course, he's always with us. Real deal. Of course, with the Buffalo Sabres, try to pick it up everything at the beginning and go back at the bottom. And if you not click on the like, that'd be awesome. If you don't mind to do this, that'd be great. Before we start, we want to welcome both of you. Thanks to join me live. We appreciate for your time with us. And let's talk about the Montreal Canadiens. What do you think about the last 2 days? How you feel? Your emotion the last 2 days. Let's start with Mr. Marco before we talk about each pick of the Montreal Canadiens.
Well, I'm wearing black today, Coach, not because I'm mourning, but just because it happened to be the color that was there. So, let's talk. Let's take a moment and talk about David.
Is it the dog?
Reinbacher? David Reinbacher. Yeah. Sorry, I forgot his name for a second. Yeah, let's take a minute to talk about him. Listen, like I saw your stream last night. I saw a lot of the reaction online. Listen, it's a very complicated thing. If you guys have been watching Habs Brunch and me talk over the last year about this, it was a very, very hard and high bar that Kent Hughes set for himself this year going to the draft. Not every year is there this much activity like we saw last year. We kind of got spoiled. Like, it was in Montreal. There was all these theatrics. It was very hard for him to kind of live up to that. Now, that being said, I can understand why certain people don't like the pick. It's not a sexy pick. I think probably what is not helping is that people probably also don't love the Alex Newhook deal. It's the totality of kind of what's happened in the last 2 days. If they would have picked David Reinbacher with that pick, and they were somehow able to get a more offensively gifted winger to come out of yesterday with, I think people would be a little more understanding, a little bit more happy with how things played out. But listen, it is what it is. Like, I think you guys did a great job. And Coach, I watched your video this morning. Like, David Reinbacher is going to be a solid NHL defenseman. Probably like you hear different comparisons. My favorite comparison for him is kind of like an Adam Larson kind of guy, like a really steady two-way defenseman that in his prime will be able to play on a top pair. So I like Adam Larson's a good player. Like, he's not going to wow you with his offense, but he's just an overall good defender. And if you pair him with an offensive defenseman, then I think you're going to get really good value from him. He's big, he's fast. The D core is now set for a long time, and the old cliche that defense wins championships is, I think, very true. So, I think we'll have a chance to kind of get into it, Coach. I don't want to hog too much time, but I think that's probably what people are a little bit upset about, is just it's all the moves together that they don't maybe really understand. Trading the first round pick and the second round pick for Newhook, and then doing that. I get that it's a draft with a lot of high end offensive talent, and you walk away with a defenseman, and you don't really walk away with an offensive talent, right? So it's hard to swallow a little bit, but I still think that we're on the right track here. I don't think, I'm a little surprised they went for the safe pick, right? You actually predicted this months ago, Coach, saying that Reinbacher would be the safest pick, and I felt strongly that they needed to kind of swing for the fences a little bit, but it looks like they went for the safe pick. It's not going to hurt us, I don't think. So that's all I have to say now, but I'm sure we'll talk about it more as we kind of go through the show here.
Yeah, of course, Mr. Andy Courvilla, Mr. ENORTAP is in the house, followed by Alan Barnes. Alan Barnes back in the house. Thanks so much. And then, Mr. ENORTAP, what do you think overall of Montreal Canadiens before we talk about each players?
Perplexed. That's the word I can come up with. It's a bit confusing. I think that their major goal or aim was to get that big centerman yesterday. When it didn't happen with, you wanted Carlson, obviously, Coach. It didn't happen. I wanted Fantilli there. I thought we'd compromise and probably get Smith. Didn't happen. So now they're faced with a bit of a dilemma, because they're thinking, do I take Reinbacher right now as the best defenseman out there, who's got size and is definitely, at the worst case scenario, is going to be a second line defenseman, because Arizona was definitely going to be taking a defenseman, and we saw that they even went a little bit off the board to get their defenseman. So it's like they were going to either swing for the fences, and I don't think that they were secure with that decision. And obviously, they're privy to more information than we will ever be in terms of what helped them make that decision. But as Marco said, they went with the safe pick. And again, not a knock on Reinbacher. I think he's a fabulous defenseman. I think he will develop. And again, I mentioned that yesterday while we were doing the draft live. I said, if you now look at your top 7 defensemen on this team, even if we don't take Matheson into the equation, which I think we still should because he's not that old, he's still relatively young. I dare anybody to come up with a team that has a comparable defensive core that is big and bruising like these guys are going to be. And again, there's a lot of suppositions to be made here, because we don't know if Lane Hutson will get to the level he's supposed to. Will MEILLEUR get there? We saw glimpses of guys like Harrison, Jacky, and Gouli, of course, Barron as well. But if everything goes to plan, this is going to be one of the best defensive cores in the league for the next 10 years, guaranteed. If you look at, put that aside now, the thing that really has me perplexed is, what's the purpose of having 11 picks if you're going to turn around and give up your late first rounder, your early second rounder, and what you get back in return is Newhook? Now, again, I don't want to knock Newhook, because I think that there's the possibility that he might develop into a very good centerman for us, or at the worst case, a winger. But he doesn't have the size. And after listening to today's press conference that they had with Bobrov was there, and a couple of other from the admin team there, the common denominator that they were trying to get at was they went after size. And if you look at the players, I wrote them down very quickly. Reinbacher, 6'2", 194. Jacob Fowler, 6'2", 223. Florian Jacky, 6'2", 174 pounds. Bogdan Konjusevic, 5'11", 176. Followed by Quentin Miller, 6'3", 181 pounds. Sam Harris, 5'11", 180. Evgeny Volokin, 6'3", 168. Philip Eriksson, 6'1", 172. And Luke Mittelstadt, 5'11", 174. So they're pretty much all 6-footers. I mean, there's a couple there that were 5'11", but what's an inch, right, Marco?
Yeah, but a lot of those guys are gold, right? So like you can't really, I don't know, it's not a fair. Yeah. So here's the, I'll try to be positive, right? Like here's one positive thing that I see. So again, I don't love the way that they managed their assets necessarily in this draft. Like I think, like we've talked about, Coach, like they already had too many prospects already. Like there's only 50 contracts that you can have in the NHL, and they made all their picks, other than the 2 that they traded. They traded their 2 best picks that they had left after number 5, and then they did all the rest of their picks. Why wouldn't they have punted or tried to punt some to next year? I don't love that. But let's be positive. Here's one positive thing. We've talked about how goaltending is absolute voodoo, right? Like it's so hard to predict what's going to happen with goaltenders. It's so hard to project. Most teams are not very good at it. I know Montreal added a goaltending consultant during the year. I can't remember his name. So that's really positive. That's a very forward-thinking thing that the Canadiens have done. But I like the idea of throwing a couple of darts at the board here for a future goaltender. I think if you're going to have all those picks, you might as well kind of try a strategy like that. I like that idea. Like I really have a really good impression of what I've read about Fowler. Like he seems like he has really good pedigree, really good attitude, winning kind of guy. There's some questions about his fitness and everything. And then the Quebec Rempart backup goalie didn't play that much. He's going to play a lot more this year. Then there's I believe a Russian goalie. I can't remember his name, but I like that strategy. Like we've talked about it, Coach. Goaltending is going to be such a critical piece here as there you go, Volokin. So it's going to be such a critical piece for Montreal to kind of work out when they get to the stage where they're going to be finally ready to compete. I do want to address this whole, I don't know, did you have this as a topic, Coach, the whole Askarov rumor? Did you have that later, or can we talk about that?
I have this one out here. So it's going to be the next subject, next topic about that. Yeah.
So I want to address that because I think there's some misinformation, maybe a little bit on that. So I saw there was a lot of fans that were really upset, basically saying, oh my God, I can't believe we drafted Reinbacher when we could have traded that pick down to Nashville and they were offering Askarov their 15th pick and then something else, right? So I want to be clear, like let's think about this logically. Yeah, and the 24th. So, it's clear that Barry Trotz was trying to make a huge splash at the draft because it was in Nashville. But it's very clear that he was trying to get one of the 4 centers that ENORTAP was talking about earlier, right? Either Fantilli, either Carlson, or Smith, right? So that's who he was kind of trying to get to. Now, I'm sure that he did offer that to Montreal and specifically to San Jose as well. Like it sounds like he went all the way. Chicago was never going to be a thing, but he talked to everybody that was in the top 5, and I'm sure Montreal was part of that. But probably that offer was conditional upon one of those centers being available when they got to 5, right? So for people to say, "Oh my God, they didn't trade down the pick to get all those assets from Nashville if they were just going to take him," well, you just heard ENORTAP say, well, they probably, if let's say they would have traded down, Phoenix was going to, or Coyotes were going to take him right away anyways, first of all. Second of all, I'm sure that pick was conditional. There's no way that Barry Trotz was interested in Michkov. So he's not going to trade Askarov, his first round pick, and all that other stuff if those centers were gone. So it's dishonest or it's misinformation to have that. And I saw that all over the internet today and last night. So I just think that that's important to clear up, that it's not fair to kind of, so I don't think it's fair to kind of put that on Hughes. You can debate the pick that he made, but there's a lot of information that we don't have there, guys. Like it's, we're not privy to it. I wish that there was, I would pay a premium to watch behind the scenes and all that. Like I'm sure it's very fascinating.
I think you want to pay a premium to sit on the table beside Martin Lapointe during the 2 days at Nazareth.
Yeah. I'll even bring Martin's St. Louis chips so you can have chips while he's at the table and everything. But yeah, so that's a really important, I think that's an important thing to say, right? Like, so, we can talk about, the fact that they weren't able to trade down, but look at the overall activity that happened last night. Like, like I said, it's not, I don't know if people forget, like, yes, there are usually a couple trades and kind of positions that move, nothing like last year. And especially for Montreal, right? Like you have to go back to like Brian Burke, like trading up to get both Sedin brothers. Like that's like once in every 20 years that you get magic like that at the draft. So,
but it was surprising though, Marco. It was surprising because you had, like I said before, you had a lot of different GMs switching teams, and everybody wants to kind of make a bit of a splash to ameliorate their team. So I personally had anticipated it to be a lot busier than it was. I mean, to get zero traffic in terms of trades or even exchange, it's crazy. It's
especially going into it because you had multiple teams that have multiple first-round picks, right? So all the ingredients were there for it. But I'm just saying, like, maybe it's just my personality, right? Like, I always manage my expectations going into something so that I'm not disappointed. Maybe it's just cynical. It's like, it's just my nature. I don't get my hopes too high. I try to kind of keep even keel when it comes to this stuff because I don't want to be disappointed. And even someone like me who doesn't get overhyped and tries to stay calm, even I felt disappointed when I heard the name, especially the way that it went down with Carey Price, and it's kind of anticlimactic, a little bit. But now that you kind of look at it as a whole, I think the fan base would, like I mentioned earlier, would have felt a little bit better about it if it didn't include what happened with Newhook and the other picks just the day before. I think it's just all these things combined together, and then the fan base is just really unhappy where things are. Listen, it's not an easy job, guys. Like, it's a competitive league. It's a flat cap. All the teams are fighting tooth and nail to kind of to do this stuff. Like, just look at the value that teams are getting back for some, like, look at what Boston got for Taylor Hall, right? Like, it's not easy to dump salaries right now. Like, if you look at what happened with Bailey today, right? Like, it's not easy. Like, but I think we're on the right path in terms of where we're going here. I think certainly, coach, like, once we've finished free agency here, I think it was, I forget who it was, but like, it's going to be fun to kind of like build the lineup, not just for next year, but maybe for a year from now, like 2 years from now, to really start looking, okay, so now that we have all these pieces, where are all these pieces going to go? And like, where do we project these pieces? And are there pieces that are kind of conflicting with each other? Are there pieces that are kind of what I would say redundant, right? Like, to me, the thing that pops out right away is you got Newhook. To me, that spells the end of Machar. Like, you can't have Machar now if you're going to have Newhook extended that long. Like, you're just going to have too many smallish players. And everybody knows, like, I'm not against short players, like, I think stout players are just as effective, but there's something to be said with what coach has talked about having at least a certain ratio of players that are not under 6 feet. Right. So I think we have a pretty clear picture of what the assets are that Montreal has. They don't have too many bullets in the gun left to do another Kirby Dach trade, other than the young defensive left D-core that they have, right? But, I don't think you're going to get that much for Harris. Like, he's a good asset. Like, I think he has some value, but you're not going to get like a Kirby Dach type player for Jordan Harris, right? Like, yeah. So I think, I think the bullets in the chamber are kind of limited here now. Like, I don't see, like, I don't know, like, if maybe you package Harris and Machar together, then maybe, and a picks maybe, but like these become like PlayStation, right? Where you start adding things together, like it just becomes less and less likely, right?
Yeah. And that's the other thing to keep in mind is that I don't think we have the total picture yet. There's still some moving pieces in place. I think that there might be some trade that might go on. Like, look at Edmondson. I still think that that's an untold story. As Marco said, there's still some prospects that we can package together, and they might address certain issues up front. I mean, that's the only thing I can think of for now. We'll see.
I think last thing, Coach, then I'll let you I think you mentioned this, and it's so important to say, is that if they don't find a big scoring winger right now that's in that window, it's going to be a lot easier to go and trade for or sign a big scoring winger like 3 years from now when they're ready to compete. But finding a first or even third pairing or like a third spot right-handed D that's big and mobile, it's almost impossible to trade for that. So I can see their rationale there, that it's good asset management. It's more likely that they'll be able to trade for, a scoring winger if they need that when they're close to competing. Sorry, go ahead.
Question, just a question quickly. Just get out of my head, a flash pop up in my head, because you talk about winger and like Mezar and think about Farrell, everything like that. And just a question like that. Who's do you believe Joshua Roy, is it better or not better at Ryan Leonard?
I think Leonard has probably, I think Leonard probably has a little bit more speed. Like his skating is way, way better than Roy, and you can't discount the impact that skating has in today's game. I haven't seen Leonard play enough to I've seen enough to understand his motor, like his compete level and his shot, and his speed, right? And so to me, Roy is very much a underrated prospect. I think I saw an interview with Craig Button yesterday where he was being asked about what he thought about the Reinbacher pick, and he's like it seems like all Habs fans are forgetting about Roy, right? Like he's still like potentially a top 6 forward that could be coming just as soon as next year, right? So I personally think that Ryan Leonard is probably an overall, just like because of his skating, I would kind of, if I had to choose between both assets, I would probably choose Leonard, but you can't discount what Roy might be here too.
And out that?
Yeah. And I was just going to say, I think Kerry Willett brought up a great point there, where he mentions in the chat, Vegas, Colorado, Tampa, St. Louis, what do the last 5 Cup champions have in common? They all had defensemen who were selected in the top 5 of the draft. So yes, they did definitely have Reinbacher in the back of their mind, but I don't think it was their plan A. I think their plan A was to try to get one of either Carlson, Smith, or Fantilli. It didn't materialize. Plan B was to go after Reinbacher. Plan C would have probably been Michkov if they'd gotten to that stage, or Leonard, one of the two.
I don't think they got ever close to considering Michkov. Doesn't from what you were hearing.
Here's the point behind that, because what I like those show like this, but when both of you are with me and other people, it's because I have the time to thinking. That's so bad to say that. It's because I feed the people in the chat, and then I listen what you said, and then I'm starting to think. I try to see other option of what you don't mention, or maybe bring something where, maybe he's right, or maybe something. And the reason why I bring Roy versus Leonard is because Montreal Canadiens, like you said earlier, they know information we don't have. They know exactly possible what they think about Joshua Roy. Maybe they consider Joshua Roy at the same level they already have compared to Ryan Leonard. He said, and that's the point, I believe. They maybe said, both of them are going to be a top 6 in this in the next 3 years. We really believe maybe maybe Leonard is here and Roy is not here. Is maybe close here, and maybe he said, you know what? Jeff Gordon in 2022, I remember him with, I think Jerry gave me that information. Remember him, I watched his interview with Chris Nyland. He mentioned is 3 things or 4 things when the Montreal Canadiens have a lack, and they need to fill up those spots in the next 24 months. And one of them was the goalie. One of them was a right winger. One of them, it was a center. And I missed one point. They got Kirby Doc. They got David Rebacker. And you can see they pick up right there, and they fill up 3 goaltenders. We'll talk about them a little bit later. But my point behind that is everyone, the scout guys, everybody around the table, it was all about Rebacker yesterday. They want to get Rebacker. The reason they didn't move down for Flowers is because they were scared of the Arizona pick Rebacker, where everybody expect the Arizona would take him, and they don't get their man. And they was not satisfied to jumping to get only Rand Leonard. They really believed the Rebacker was the one they're looking for, and that's the reason about that one for them. And then you talked earlier about they don't have a lot of trade like ENORTAP, because I believe it could be. I could be wrong here. I believe that the draft was so deep with good hockey players from 1 to 15 to 25 to 35. And that's the reason they will believe we don't make any trade, because the player we're going to losing from 17 or going to get at 17 versus 14 is still a good hockey player. Sometimes when the draft is really low, but what you do is you maybe trade from 24 to 12, because 24 will be behind about that. And finally, for New Hook, guys, I will give you another option. I can see on your point of view 31st, 37. But if you match up both together, that'll give you about 22 to 24 in the NHL draft. If you match up both together to go low, move up. New Hook is a 16 overall pick. That's how I see that. That's the reason for me I don't see like is this is a good trade for the Montreal Canadiens. They get Alex New Hook, a 16 overall pick versus a 31 and 37. Both of them, possible those players maybe not make it. We don't know what's going to happen with that, or maybe one of them go to make it. Montreal has already someone could play right now, top 9, play speed. He bring a lot on the table on different other area of the game. And then possible, if you read his next ceiling, possible his next level, he could become a top 6 for the Montreal Canadiens. But at some point, you're going to have so many players he will have. But this is a good thing. It's a good problem. It's not a bad problem. I'll give you an example right now. Look, Boston, their prospect. Yes, it's been a good team, and I understand that. But if you think about how they're going, Montreal now going to have a good selection of the player they can trade to get something they're looking for, or what they are piece of the puzzle if they are missing right now. And that's only the 3 subjects I want to bring to you at different way, at different point of view. And if you want to add something, like I just said, don't hesitate before we jump in the chat.
I want to ask you a tough question, Coach. I don't think you're going to like this one. I almost hesitate to ask it, to be honest.
Go ahead.
Say it.
Do you think Reinbacher is superior to Jiricek that we could have gotten last year?
Yes.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Reinbacher is so much better to Jiricek.
He's more complete. Jiricek is probably better offensively, but
I disagree with you.
Good defensively.
I disagree with you. You guys, I think if you look about his 2-month play and NL, if you're listening what the people talk about this, his level of offensive increasing a lot since October. Every month is getting another notch. The only difference I would say to you, Jiricek, have made you a better rocket. Is you have an amazing, great slap shot. Skating wise,
I think
Reinbacher is better. Park transition, Reinbacher is better. First pass, Reinbacher is better. The only thing I would say, the size of Jiricek is maybe a little bit bigger, right? And
he's meaner too.
I think Jiricek can become an egg blood with time. That would be my. Again, I'm talking about right now. We don't know in 3 years, guys, how they can develop, right? It makes sense. Like you don't know. But for me right now, Montreal Canadiens, David Reinbacher is the best defenseman, top prospect for the Montreal Canadiens as the defenseman, and he is better already to Nemec. Like if you put right now last year, Reinbacher is right there after Sarkowski and that draft pick.
I don't know about that. It's an interesting question. I guess we'll see kind of how it plays out, but we might be looking back at this and be like, we reversed, we did the opposite of what we should have done. Last year, picking at number 1, maybe the best player was either Nemec or Jiricek. I'm really high on Jiricek. We'll see how that plays out. But and then this year, which is the forward heavy draft, we picked the defenseman. 5 years from now, I guess we'll be able to. Hopefully, we're still on YouTube and still making fools out of ourselves, making bad predictions, and we'll be able to talk about it and see if we were right or wrong.
Again, your point of view, and I thought you were going to add about that, but I think you're not wrong about you know what I mean. Like you're not like, oh my God, this is not true at all. We're doing like that. The time we tell us exactly. I just feel for me, Rebecca is overall like all the spec of the game is a little bit better at Jiricek and Nemec.
The only thing that worries me about.
And then I will say to you in our tap, you want to put me on the hot seat, put me on the hot seat, right? What do you think about Nemec and Jiricek? Who is the best player between Nemec and Jiricek?
Nemec. Nemec's better.
And Marco, we said Jiricek. Check this.
Yeah, I agree.
But my point of view, guys, look what is that. We have three fan answer. And that's the beauty of hockey. That's the beauty of what the sports fan is.
Look.
Right? This is what you have to respect in hockey. It's like, ENORTAP is not better than me. I'm not better to ENORTAP, and Marco is not better. It's just we have all fun option. We have all fun eyes. When you scout someone, you have all fun opinion, and that's the beauty about that one there. That's what I always said. People was like, oh my God, this not. No, you have your own opinion. That's what I said on my video yesterday. Well, this morning, I don't know anymore. Do we have like July 6th right now? I don't know. Anyhow, my point behind that is I get so much intense. This is my DNA of who I am about that. I'm not, again, you. It's just to set feel up. Like I just love the game, and I just love my passion about the game.
Yeah.
And again, I have no problem with people talk again, whatever they are. I respect each one of the opinion. But finally, you can tell us what do you think about Rebecca, Nemec, and Jiricek.
No, I like all three. I'll be totally honest with you. I still maintain the one certainty out of all this is that we've done a great job at building a solid core defensive group here. I don't think there's no debate about that. And I think when it comes to winning the cup or going far, at least into the playoffs, it's the team that has the better defense that usually comes up on top. Now, you probably won't agree with this, Coach.
No,
because I know we've had many conversations about it, and you've always said, you know what, you want to win the cup, you have to have that elite player. But if you look at the last 14 cup winners, none of those teams have had 100-point score on those teams.
Oh, be careful. Elite player is not necessarily one of the point, right?
Well, what's elite then? We always, I guess, it's about semantics. We have to define.
Eichel an elite player. Jack Eichel is an elite player. He hasn't had 100 points, but he's a former number 2 overall pick, right?
I would say to you, Mr. ENORTAP, usually, and I think I'm right. I could be right or be wrong at some point, but an elite player for me is like, the guy pick up the top 3 usually in the draft, and he delivery his expectation. Like a Victor Aikman example. This is a superstar and a super elite in the NHL, right? And that's what I'm talking about. Like, you need those kind of players in your organization. After that, if you don't have, it's Remus on top. If you don't have pick number 1, pick number 2, pick number 3, I would go all the way to 5 if you want to. And if you don't have those kind of players, you're not going to win in the NHL playoff Stanley Cup. It's impossible. It's almost impossible. It's not happening. But I can understand your point of view about, like you just said, for the last 14 years, you need to have a separated players.
So I think there's kind of a middle way to look at it, right? Like, so, I think we're looking, like, let's take a good example is Toronto, right? Like, if you have a team that's too top heavy, then it's going to be really hard to win, right? Like, it just means that your goaltending is going to have to carry you or whatever, right? But, I think even a team that we would consider not to be top heavy, like Vegas had probably one of the best teams to win the cup. They reminded me of kind of like St. Louis a couple years ago, right? Like just skill up and down the lineup, really. But they still had what I would consider elite players too, even though it's not like the Leafs where it's like Matthews, Marner, like the big 4, right? It's not like that. but they still have elite players. You know, like you have to consider Eichel an elite player. You have to consider Pietrangelo an elite player. Mark Stone is
Yeah,
like
but that's
what
defense. I'm talking strictly about forwards. You're right about the defensive end. I think they have an elite defensive core, not just the defensive, not just Pietrangelo, right? I thought Theodore played extremely well.
Yeah.
You know, all the entire group. The year before Colorado, same thing. Like excellent defensive group that brought him right to the end.
I don't think there's one, like, I keep hearing this, right? And I honestly don't think there's one specific formula to win the Stanley Cup, right? If there was,
Defense,
everybody,
Marco.
yeah,
There
but
is
like
defense number one.
you still need to score goals, right? Like even if you have, like, if you mean by team play, like defense team play, yes, right, but not just good defense.
Of course.
If you just, yeah. So yeah, but that to me, that's more a style of play, like that. Like I'm talking about roster construction. There's not a specific.
Yeah, you're referencing, and I would agree.
Yeah,
you're referencing depth, and I think that that's extremely important because, as you mentioned, you look at the Leafs. You know, their first two lines can play with anybody in the league, but once you go beyond those first two lines, that's where they run into problems, especially against these teams that have that depth. And we saw that over the last 7 years. And they're not the only ones. They're the ones that come to mind right away. So are we building, as the Montreal Canadiens, are we building a solid defensive core? Yes. Do we have a solid goalie? Not yet. We don't have that kind of goalie yet. We can say that Monteball's very good and he's made progress. But he's not at that level. And I think that that's another ingredient that's necessary. And then the depth. Now, in that depth, if you happen to have, and again, maybe I should never use the word elite because it could mean something different to everybody, right? But I'm thinking an elite is somebody that can get you 100 points in a year and plus. And you don't necessarily need that if you have that depth. If you can roll out 3-4 solid lines that know what their roles are. And we saw it. Montreal went to the finals. Did they have an elite player? No, they had 4 good defensemen and an excellent goalie.
Yeah, like I said, I don't think there's a specific formula. You know, like you can talk about, there is a specific formula for the type of hockey that wins in the playoffs. That I agree with you. But it's like anything where you're, you know, when you're taking, it's like, here's a great non-hockey example, right? Let's say you're making a movie, okay? Like you could have the best script in the world. You could have the best director. You could have the best actors. But if you know anything about movies, sometimes a good movie it just happens by accident. You know, like what some of the best favorite scenes you've ever seen in one of your favorite movies, it was probably improvised or it was an accident. It just happened. It wasn't even planned to be that way. A good example, remember that scene in Indiana Jones where he just shoots like the guy with the sword instead of like fighting him? It's one of the most famous scenes from that movie. That wasn't supposed to happen like that. It just happened. The reason I bring that up is that there's only so many things that you can control when you're dealing with a group of people trying to achieve a goal together, right? Coach, you're into motivation, like you've coached people, like you know what I'm talking about, right? It's you can try to put all those places, but to a certain extent, it's just a magical thing that happens, and there's only certain things that you can put in place. So I don't buy that there's a formula. I think the best thing they can do is find people that are going to work hard. They're going to play the game the right way. They're going to be open to play the role that they're supposed to play. And of course, you need a certain amount of talent to actually execute on the ice, right? So, you know, like we talked about, the draft is not about roster construction. Coach, in the chat during your live stream at lunch, you promised that we would talk a little bit about the Buffalo Sabres and how you feel about their prospect pool. You know, I agree. Like, you know, I love their prospect pool. Like, I think I had probably one of the top 3 performances in the draft, and I really love their draft yesterday too. So yeah, they might have a lot of forwards that are around 5'10", but when it comes to being able to construct the roster that they need, they're going to have a lot of amazing assets to kind of like move around the chessboard to kind of build the roster that they need to win.
But they will have to have some size on the winger side. If not, they will have a struggle to make the. And more you guys, you're talking about this, about the formula, everything like that. They have a specific. They have only one formula in my eyes. They have a team for the playoff, and you have a team for the season. In my opinion,
Agree.
and this is what you. Sometimes you realize when you watch the playoff start, something are better because they really knows what to do in the playoff. Like they have the size example, they have the forechecking side, they have a chemistry a little bit more, and compared to the team, they have no those kind of the player. They try to. If you look about a trade deadline, guys, like all the big trade happening at trade deadline, everything thinking they're going to make the playoff, everything. One team is always conservative is the Carolina Hurricane. They never make a big trade at the trade deadline because they really believe for them it starts in October and the playoffs start there. When they build the team together, they really believe and say, yeah, they maybe not, they make short, but at least they still have a good run at the end. And I feel that the prospect is so good. They draft so well over there. Other thing, they look about now that what happening with the Boston Bruins. They have no chip anymore on the table. Toronto have no chip on the table anymore. I can go all the way like that. The Florida Panthers, they have no chip on the table right now. When I said chip, they don't have no first round picks. They just try 1 year and they try to win at the same time. And you realize when you're losing, Zito realize they don't have nobody like Kachuk. They need someone. Whatever Huberdeau is a great hockey player, whatever Barkov is a great hockey player, they don't have those kind of players for playing the playoff. They're not going to make it. And they figure out after 12 months with the team, they get Kachuk. And that kind of formula, it's not the perfect recipes Marco was said to you, but you have some peas and that's that recipes you need absolutely when you go to the playoff. That's the only thing I would say differently, like you said, for the formula you're talking about.
It's all about character and building that chemistry together, as you said. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like the thing in the chat, guy. We welcome everybody. Thanks to be a part of the show tonight. Don't forget, guys, to click on the like. If you don't mind, that'd be awesome. We appreciate a lot of conversation, guys. I can go left and right with everybody in the chat. But I want to talk about because a lot of questions talk about the pick number 69 guy, Jacob Fowler, the goaltender. I will start with ENORTAP. Give us a bit more information about Fowler, Marco. And then if you're missing some piece of the puzzle, I will add more. Because a lot of people want to know about this. This question was coming from Butch about 15 minutes ago. But we add more people want to know about Fowler. And some know already about Fowler. Although the fact look like we don't bring him with DANY at the Mandarin because he will really hit all the shrimp with DANY.
That's not nice, Coach. That's not nice at all. With Fowler, at a youngster from the USHL, like I said earlier, he's 6'2". He's 223 pounds. That's the only setback from what I'm hearing in terms of his game because it slows him down a little bit. But he has very, very good movement. He's got good recognition of the game. Like this year with the Phantoms, he went 27, 9, and 3, 228 goals against average and a 921 save percentage with 5 shutouts. So there is a possibility that this guy could turn out to be a number one goaltender. I don't doubt that. It's just that he has to really commit himself to a little bit better conditioning. And I think once you get to the pro level, even if you're not personally the athletic directors and trainers, they get you into that mode. So I'm not overly worried about that. Let's just make sure that there's progress here. The other thing I want to say, and sort of an aside from this, is, we took a chance, took 3 goalies here in this particular draft. We needed to because obviously we're a bit thin with what we have in the minors. Where does this now leave Caden Primo?
What's the question again?
Well, Caden Primo.
The last part,
Yeah,
what
where
you
does
it
said
leave?
about they just
Yeah,
talk about Primo and ENORTAP.
I said, yeah, we picked up three goaltenders here, possibilities, and but we're a bit thin right now in the minors. And just thinking right now, where does it leave Primo in the whole equation?
For me, I will just answer back Marco before that. It's because Primo is now is not exempt of the waiver, so they possible they're going to
Exactly.
lose him about this one there. And the three players we just talk about the goaltender. All three not going to play with Montreal next year anyway. And not going to be at Laval Rockets. So I think there's a project for 2 years to bank up the Laval Rocket and inside of this organization. Like Fowler is going to be a 2 years contract, at least a 2 years, I believe, with the Boston College. So, but we'll see what happens. Quentin Miller, you have to finish his contract with the B League, and Mécantic. You have 1 more year with them for Division B. So we have to wait 1 more year before he return. And excuse me, Marco, you have to talk about the Fowler.
Jacob Fowler, yeah. Listen, like I agree with everything ENORTAP was saying about Fowler. Like I've read kind of the same reporting, other than the fact that I don't think his weight necessarily is affecting him now. Like he's apparently his reflexes and his agility are actually really, really strong for somebody that his size. I think what the real concern is his stamina. You know, like if he's going to play a lot of games as the games become more strenuous, like when you're playing at that level, you know, you can probably relax a lot more. You know, while playing at a top level game, then you're always going to be super active, right? So I think you're right. Like either the athletic team or trainers or whatever will get a hold of him, but then also just learning what it's like to be a pro, right? Like so, hopefully going to a couple of development camps and being around professionals will just be good. It's like me hanging out with coach. You know, like I now started introducing eating bugs for breakfast every morning. Something I picked up.
When you go, like you eat like a team together, you always put Fowler in the last of the line, so be sure all the food be out on the table when you show up. Or you maybe pick up all the leftover on the table when everybody left the building about that. But someone compared him to Leonard yesterday. What in fact, Leonard is a big guy, but Leonard was a guy who can eat everything on the table too.
Yeah. Well, listen, he compares himself like. He definitely has a winning pedigree, like a winning attitude. He compared himself to Jake Ottinger, which is kind of the flavor of the month, you know, in terms of comparing yourself to a good young goalie, you know, like, so.
He's very confident. He's a very confident individual. And I like to see that in a goalie. You know, you don't want to see like Campbell.
Yeah, depending. Yeah, exactly. Like you don't want a head case. Like that's the last thing that you want. But depending who you talk to, like some people had him classified as the best goalie in this year's draft, right? It's not the majority, but there are some people that believe that much in him that they had him ranked as the number 1 goalie this year. It's the minority people, but there are some people that think really highly of him. So I think he was the 6th goalie taken, I think, in the draft. Like, so, you know, we'll see how it plays out. Like we talked about, coach, like goaltending is just voodoo. So let's sacrifice a goat, like take some bones and rattle them around and just hope that one of these goalies turns out to be decent.
Yeah, first of all, to get him at 69 is pretty, for me, it's a little bit surprised me because you can see the top, when they open the door to Cajan, Rabal, following by Augustine, and then you get Carla, Pop-Up, B. Jordanson by the Flowers, I believe. Is it? The Flyers pick him, I think, 51, 52. I thought I was scared for Fowler because Fowler, all the goaltender get picked up at the top 6. Fowler, it was the last one. Most of them are going to be a backup number 2 for the projected or the projection of all those goalies. The backup number 2 in NHL, and maybe one of them could slightly go under as a regular goalie in NHL. It's not like they are going to be automatically a goaltender number 1 about that. The Fowler have a lot of upside down compared to other goaltender. Just won the MVP with a Youngstown and the USHL 6'2". Born in Melbourne, and he's going to be with Boston College, so he's going to have a really good team over there. And in Boston College, you know, Spencer Knight is a great goaltender, been there for many years, and look where he get out, 13 overall pick. He's a very solid goaltender when he's healthy. But I think it's a good pick for the Montreal Canadiens at 69. The two other goaltender, I can go finish this if you don't mind before we talk about other. Quender Miller, guys, I don't know. Someone can say something. I have no clue about him or the fact he played Mégantic during the summer. But anybody want to talk about Quender Miller or the fact he played one game with around Quebec Rampart?
Well, first of all, his name is Quentin. It's actually a French name, Quentin Miller. So
okay.
Yeah, Quentin Miller. I think he played 20 games for the Rampart last year. I believe he had like a 915 around there save percentage, about a 2.21 goals against per average. So, again, he wasn't the starting goalie, but he's a rookie in the queue, right? So, it should be a pretty different looking team with Monsieur Roy not heading the ship anymore. So we'll see how good of a team the Rampart will have. Like they're probably gonna, after winning the Memorial Cup, will kind of be rebuilding and retooling, but he'll have an opportunity to play a lot. So it's good, like sometimes these backup goalies that don't really get a chance to play, but that still have good numbers. Like sometimes it can be a good sneaky pick. So I think that's kind of what their thinking is good underlying numbers for a young rookie goaltender in the queue, and take a flyer on him and see kind of how he develops next year with more playing time.
Exactly. And good size. He's, I think, 6'3", 185, something like that. So it fits the mold.
The next goaltender is a 144 pick by the Montreal Canadiens from Richard, playing at MHL. Team have a really good start. I think he's 6'4", if I can recall it. I don't know if you can correct me, both of you. But he promised to be a goaltender. He was not on the radar for anyone. Nobody really knew about him. So this is a really about him. So that would be really interesting what the Montreal Canadiens could do. Again, they just fill up not one area they don't have. And listen, guys, for me, is Ken Hughes and Jeff Gordon delivery what they said. They need to pick, when they see something does not work or they don't have, they figure out to pick up those situations very rapidly and quickly. And that's what they set up now, the three goaltender, about that one there. I'm going to ask you a couple of questions about this. What do you think about the selection of Florian Jacquet as a winger at 101 from the Hamilton Bulldog?
Go ahead, ENORTAP.
Yeah. I think it was a bit of a stretch at 101. I think they could have had him probably in the next round if they wanted to.
Too early.
Again, a little bit too early. But, having said that, I mean, he is 6'2", 174 pounds. In 68 games, he had 13 goals, 12 assists. Nothing flashy there with Hamilton. The key thing is he's a very physical presence, very much like his brother. And you know what? If you really want to make Jacquet happy, why not bring his brother along? It's at the end of the day, you don't really lose out on this.
Yeah, but again, like I was stuck with ENORTAP earlier, guys. After 75 pick, the chance that those big players become really a regular NHL are not too much percentage over there for Jacquet. And Marco, we want to add something about Jacquet?
Yeah, I think ENORTAP might be onto something there. Like, is it kind of like a solid that they're doing for Arbor? When I saw this, actually, to be honest, I was kind of half expecting that they were going to draft Martin Saint-Louis' son in the 7th draft and the 7th round or something too. Just, kind of doing favors. Like, I'm glad it didn't happen, because to me that I'm always nervous about kind of organizations that get too chummy with each other, and having those kinds of things. Like, I think it can turn quickly, right? Because what happens? So let's say you draft Jacquet here, and then you draft Martin Saint-Louis' son, and then what's the next step? Like, is he going to play for Laval? Yeah, it's just very nepotism is dangerous, right? Like, there's a reason why companies don't really want that to happen too much, because it can lead to a lot of uncomfortable situations and put people into weird situations. So I think this is fun, listen, hard for us to, I think you said this at lunch, coach, or whatever, midnight, wherever you are, that's, you know, you never bet against a family like this. Like, you got to love, first, they're new Canadians. They work hard. They've worked their way up. Two of their kids got drafted in the NHL. So it's such an amazing story. And listen, like, Arbor was kind of a late bloomer, you know, so let's see, like, there's a, you know, a small chance that he could have an impact, but highly doubtful.
I personally think Hughes selected Florian Jacky to make Marco happy, because all year long he wanted to convert Jacky into a forward, and now you got a big solid forward. So we're all happy now in the equation.
That's a new customer for Chris Nyland, by the way, now to get his brother Jacky on this list. I know, Marco, you need to leave, so I don't know where you at that time, but...
yeah, well, let's just finish this part, and then I can see my dog is going to pee all over the place if I don't leave soon here.
Yep.
So,
yeah. So, 110 guy, Bogan Koniskov, defenseman, playing the KHL. Not many people talk about him, but a lot of people think this is really interesting pick for the Montreal Canadiens. Any comments you want to add before I add something I heard this morning?
I'll go first, and then it's up. Then I'll go. Yeah. My understanding is that I think he's 21, 20 or 21.
He turned
right?
21, yeah.
20.
Yeah, so he's 21, right-hand shot guy with some off-ups. So the reason he was lit because he's not really an amateur player anymore, right? Like, he's been playing professional hockey for a while. All I can think of when I start thinking about this guy is, let's cross our fingers that he might be the next Zub. You know, maybe we'll get lucky and he'll, you know, be able to kind of like actually kind of do something for us here. And, you know, like, Zub was a really nice pickup for the Senators, just out of the KHL that nobody really knew. Yeah, you know, that's pretty much all I know about him. I would be shocked. Like, I know ENORTAP, you probably watched at least 4 of his games this year. Like, you were following him pretty closely, right?
Not him, no. Not at all. I'll be honest.
Yeah, you have something to add?
He's 5'11". Yeah, he's just 5'11". I mean, again, that's not small by any stretch. It's still a decent size. But for a defender, you know, I worry about that a little bit more. He's almost 0.5 point per game defenseman. At least that's what he's produced in the Russian league. But I guess they didn't have any reservations picking this particular Russian.
No.
It was recommended really, really well by Igor Larionov. So Larionov coached him, and he's another player like, you know, that did not do very well until he picked up the KHL, and then he show up a lot of great potential talent over there. So Larionov talked with the Montreal Canadiens about him, and that's the reason the connection came for Bobrov. We know Larionov is an agent too at the same time, so you have some kind of connection. So again, yes. 101, 110, 128, whatever they are, like, this is just like you swing for the ball, you hope the ball don't hit a bird and get out of the park. But although the fact I don't see anything else, it could happen. I want to talk about one plus. We'll go to skip him, Philip Eriksson. All right, let's move on for the last one. Luc Mittelstadt. This is what you'll be shocking about him. So I want to hear from you, Marco, about Luc Mittelstadt.
He's an intriguing prospect. You know, like, definitely some good upside. Like, I think from what I read, like, his skating could improve a little bit, and his consistency, I think, is kind of the key thing that they're looking for him to really kind of take the next step. But I think it's a nice little flyer, like, that they put out on this guy. Like, should be like, the things that I read seem pretty positive about him for this level of pick.
Yeah, it was pretty. I think at that level, it was pretty good pick. Again, he's another 5'11", 197 pound. No, sorry, 175 pound player. I don't know. I've heard some good things, but I don't really know a lot about him to really give more of an opinion on him.
Luke Minnesota is the brother Casey Mazestal, by the way. Played with the
Yeah.
Minnesota Coffer. Start the season behind like a third pairing defenseman, and he is increasing his level playing the UCHL for the Madison Capitals. I said Minnesota. He's going to then he's going to get commitment over there. Then he's going to is really another what 5'11" I believe he is.
Yeah.
Right? And he's going to be enough. He's really good on offensive, carrying the puck very well. But again, it's a long project. But at 7 round, guys, this is like one you're looking for. Possible he can pick it up something. He can become maybe a player. Like you never know about that. He's going to play a big role now in an NC next season. He's going to increasing his TOI, and I think for the 7th-round pick, I'm really happy about that pick on that one. So that's another player is going to be to follow up. Last year, I remember they signed Miguel Tourigny as a 7th-round pick and 5'8" or 5'9" for him. About that,
his brother didn't get picked today too. That was kind of too bad, but Tourigny.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that. One more plus, guys, I want to talk about is Sam Harris, 133 overall pick, left winger, commit to Denver University. What do you think about this for USHL play, I think, for Madison? Anybody want to talk about Sam Harris or not?
I'll let this one go. I have to go, guys, so I'll leave this one to you guys. So
okay,
have a good night, guys.
All right, thank you, Marco. We'll keep in touch together. Thanks so much. Marco Larabi leave the building right now when we're going to be finished with Mr. ENORTAP. Let me see, Mr. ENORTAP, before Roger said that to us. I don't know if you can pick it up here. Any surprise? Can a really deep offensive draft app emerge without any guess that offense this year must look better at that it did? You talk about the development.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, there's at least a handful of players that we're going to have a close look at this year. I think they were pleased with the progression of what Harvey Pinard showed us last year. Maybe Raw this year could be a possibility. Beck could be a possibility of joining the team. So definitely, yeah, we do have pieces there that could help progress and create the depth that we were talking about earlier. Not to mention, we're also looking at, how are other players that are going to be on the team, are they going to continue to develop and progress? And I'm talking about guys like Doc, and I'm talking about guys like Slavkovsky. They're going to be integral parts for us. And now that we have New Hook as well, they're going to be integral parts of that forward progression that we're trying to build towards. If all things go well and these guys, make some progress, I'm not saying that they have to, jump 2 or 3 steps up here. If they just increase a little bit their production and show improvement in their development, again, given the defense that we're working towards here, I think we're going to have a good team.
Yep, absolutely about that. DIXON, Mr. ENORTAP is in the house. First time in the house, so we welcome him. He make a lot of great comments in the chat. He loved the selection of Rebecca, so I like him a lot more now, for sure, Mr. ENORTAP. But great comment. Thanks, DIXON. Go ahead.
He brings up a very good point. Like, obviously, we should not be taking out any frustrations or disappointments out on Reinbacher. I mean, he's done everything he has to do as a draftee to get to where he got. He's earned that. It's not like this guy came out of the 5th round and Montreal picked him in the 1st round. He merits where he got selected. Any other draft that wasn't as deep as this year, we'd be jumping through the roof if we got him. But we have to try to understand what the game plan here is. Whether we agree with it or not, that's a different issue. We're all entitled, as you said earlier, to our opinions on that. But let's get behind him and not put more pressure on him to have to produce here. I think he'll do what he has to do. And we can't compare him to Michkov. It's a totally different conversation.
Yeah, definitely about that one over there. The time we tell us what you're going to become, both of them, everything like that. And sometimes you don't compare like Michkov, Rebecca. What you compare is okay, what Michkov is going to do for the Flyers and what Rebecca brings to the Montreal Canadiens. That's what I feel when you compare. Plus, sometimes they have to go that direction because Rebecca fill up a spot where the Montreal don't have right now. And if he fill up his spot, he do what the expectation are. This is a great pick for the Montreal Canadiens. Whatever Michkov scored 300 goals, it's not a matter. Rebecca bring what the Montreal are looking for. And that's something we have to be careful about when we compare players only because who they are. If you change the scenario, what could happen? We don't know, right? So sometimes it's just about this. Michkov, he will score a lot of goals for sure. But a lot of goals is going to be
also,
on the ice too when he's be on the ice
yes. It'll be interesting.
Will be something you have to correct.
I don't have much value for plus minus, but this might be the perfect indication here. Let's look in 4 or 5 years what their plus minuses are, and that'll tell you the whole tale, because there's more to a complete hockey player than just the statistical aspect of it. And I think Reinbacher brings a lot on the table.
Yeah, so right. If we talk about Montreal getting grades, Mr. ENORTAP, or that draft, what kind of letters? Because this is my question. The poll will be out in the next 15 minutes. What will be a grade from A to E? Yeah, no Montreal? Plus and no minus.
For Montreal, you're talking about. Are you talking about Montreal or other?
Yeah. Abs, great.
Yeah. For Montreal, overall, I discussed that with the fact that they gave up those 2 picks. I wouldn't. I think that there's a lot of projects here, with the exception of Reinbacher, that may or may not pan out in the end. I wouldn't give him higher than C, and I think I'm being a little bit on the generous side here.
Yeah. Because it's hard to select, it's hard to correct when you have only 2 pick, right? When you have only 5 and 69, right? It's going to be like I will go with a C for that one over there, because I don't like after that the pick, the rest of the pick, and generous B, but C is for me is a really, it's okay at C, by the way. They got 2 pick. What they have to do is they pick someone very good on number 5, and then 69 they got to go turn out. We'll see how he's going to develop. At 69, Mr. ENORTAP is like 60 and 50. You never know how they're going to turn around about that for sure. I tried to pick up a couple of things here in the chat, Mr. ENORTAP. Who do you see Rebecca play with, or does he need more time to develop? I don't know if you know what's next for David Rebecca, but I can add you something if you already know. I would just pick it up where you at, Mr. ENORTAP. What's going to happen with him next year?
I think from all I was hearing that they might put him back in the at what's it called, Cloten in Austria. He might go and play 1 more year there before he moves back. So I think he's at least probably 2 years away.
Okay.
Probably 3.
The good news, guys, compared to other defensemen or other contract European, he have on his contract, he can play in North America right away. So this is a good news about him. Secondly, if you look about what happened with Nemec and Chirecek, they use the road to go to American Hockey League. So for me, Mr. ENORTAP, I believe he's going to play with Laval Rocket next season. It's not guys going to be NCAA or the only 2, but the option you can get is honestly Montreal Canadiens, Laval Rocket, and Claudine on the NL. Those are the 3 options he can get next season. But the play is level right now. They believe, for what I heard from the head coach, the general manager yesterday on the interview with the TV station, they believe it would be maybe more benefit for him to play with Laval Rocket. So again, but there are the three options about it. I will not be shocking. He's still in North America, and some of them are thinking he's maybe ready to play in NHL. So
yeah, I don't doubt that, but I wouldn't do that at this stage. I
no,
think
the benefit
we
of
have
them would be
enough
better to play in
rookies.
American hockey. They did exactly what they do with
Yes.
Check when they make. He play him all
Yes.
year long, and at the end of the season, the last 5 game example, they bring him up, or he can bring up with the Montreal Canadiens. You can get the call up during the season, but in fact, is going to be around the Montreal Canadiens, develop a Laval Rocket to be access to Adam Nicolas or Scott Pellerin or whatever to as a development. I think that would be a benefit for him to be around the Montreal Canadiens. Guys, this is a guy can become an amazing, great hockey player in NHL. So I think it will be benefit. If you're thinking about Mishkov, the next 4 years, they don't have no access, nothing about him, no limitation for access to him. Communication is not very good. And then thirdly, the development, they cannot do anything about the CSKA will not give any chance for the Montreal Canadiens, tell them what to do with Mishkov at the end. And it's still either Mishkov for next year would be very interesting to see that. Can he go through the top 6 or the bottom 6 in KHL for them? We'll see what happened with Mishkov. So this is what happened with Mr. Rebacker. Look, go with C. We have a B plus for Enrabinoff. A2 said G for goalie. The cup belong in Canada, Sébastien. Question on your hook. Goalies are wild card. Chris Harrison gave us a C for that one. Question on your hook. A goalie are a wild card. For New Hook trait, C for the New Hook trait, MTG. Roger Denny go a D for the Montreal Canadiens. About that, still cannot believe that Vegas won the Stanley Cup. I feel good what the New Hook. I like the safe pick of David Love Fuller. The rest are okay. About that, they are putting a lot of pressure on Marte and the development staff to bring success out of these players. They pick up here a real go with A plus for Buffalo. Oof, that's a tough one. Carter C. That's pretty much what we said. Maybe Mishkov become one of the scorers. Maybe Rebecca help Montreal win the cup. Who knows? Today is only one more step for those young kids drafted. Glenn is in the house. Welcome back, Glenn. Thanks. Don't forget to click on that. All right, guys, do you think Montreal would be able to get rid of the few players or trade day, or do you think they will sign any free agent, Mr. Tap?
I definitely think that they're going to try to make some kind of pitch to get Edmonton gone. It looks like Edmonton might be a good fit for him. There's a couple of other teams that I was hearing also, possibly in Dallas or even in St. Louis, depending on that whole situation that's happening there right now with that possible trade that was kind of kiboshed by the no trade clause that Torrey Krug had. So those are just 3 possible destinations that I'm hearing, but I wouldn't doubt it if there's more. Like, you know what you're getting with Edmonton. Just don't expect a huge return. If you get, a second round pick, I think that's fortunate.
Yeah, you're going to see Edmonton be trade. Maybe after the UFA, I think the team will try to fill up some kind of defenseman spot, and then they're going to see if what they have to make a trade or not for Edmonton. A third round picks make me more sense to me for Edmonton. The 2 other players could be trade. As Christian Dvorak for my opinion, will be another one. About that. And then could be a prospect like Ireland could be another one, could be on the trade market, Mr. Natap, at some point. They have extra forward. So maybe a Pitlick could be out with the Montreal Canadiens. Hoffman, I don't see that. At least something could happen for him. But I don't see Hoffman get out. So 2 other players I believe will be trade is Edmondson and Dvorak for the coming. Now for the UFA, I don't think so. Montreal Canadiens are limited. They have too many players at the end of the day, Mr. Tap. The roster is already over with the forward. yeah, they're not going to sign a big UFA and maybe add experience. I don't think so. I think they all set up the roster right now for upcoming season. I don't know if you expect something else at the UFA department, ENORTAP.
No, I don't. But having said that, I expected something out of the draft, and nothing happened. So keep your ears open. We'll see. But yeah, I don't think Montreal's going to do very much.
About that, Gary said, look like Lucia will resign with Boston and Reeve Abraham with Toronto. If that's the case, I worry about about that one over there. I wouldn't be worried about that, Gary. For Jacky,
Yeah.
he will hanging there, and you have no many fight anymore
We
anyway.
got the snake
Why
eye.
rush him to America? Look, and it's just because he will be developing around the Montreal Canadiens. That's the reason. Look about what he did with Nemec and Cherechek. Before that, not many European players they want to see at the place. A lot of Sweden players, example Norlander, decide to did that. Heinemann did it, but the key for Rebecca ENORTAP is because he's not born exactly in Cloden, and he can play. That's the reason behind. So he's not no attached family around him to stay there and to maybe play in front of his fans. It doesn't make sense. Like they have a better play at Laval Rocket. You don't know anybody. Play at home in front of your friends, family. It's more fun. They can develop with him. Rebecca, they can use him, take him in charge right away. Right now in July, and Mr. Luc, and then he can. That's the reason I would say it would be more benefit for him to play Laval Rocket. Plus, Mr. ENORTAP, the prospect they have already. You're going to have right there a lot of defense like Mayo be there. That's a great one. Jaden Strobel is going to start his first career, their first year professional over there. And then you have the Hua. Maybe Mezal could be join the team. Farrell will be already there. Kitney will be over there. I can go all the way like this. Torigny now play back with the Laval Rocket. So that will be a great not chemistry, a great feeling to be a part of the next generation of players for the Montreal. I don't know what you think about that. That way, I'm one thinking right now.
Yeah, I suspect Laval will be a much stronger team next year with the acquisitions that we've been making, not only over this year and last year, but also, a couple of the prior drafts under Trevor Timmins as well. So I expect them to be much, much more competitive moving forward. And you're right, like some of them are going to get opportunities to come up because of either injuries or whatever the case might be, where they're going to come up and play with the team. So that continuity is going to be there. And I think that's one of the original objectives that they had in mind, was to create that continuity between Laval and Montreal. So expect to see a good year out of them.
Yeah, that's right. 1 year, prior next year will be another conversation. It's one way to do that. I want to say that for the people, a lot of people are concerned about New York. Who is the fastest skater for the Montreal Canadiens now?
Oh, that's a good question.
Alex Newhook.
Oh, yeah. I thought you meant outside of Newhook.
Yeah.
Who was the fastest.
So what you get with him, guys, is a player can skate. He's going to be. The game is about speed now, transition, everything like that. And that's what you get with Newhook. And Newhook is really responsible on the defensive zone, where the Montreal have a lack of, not a commitment, but a lack of skill on defensive zone coverage. So since the departure of the Cannon, Newhook is going to be really responsible. Play very well on the PK, by the way. That we add another thing on the PK for that one, Mr. ENORTAP. So a lot of people are. For me, I see a really good asset for the Montreal Canadiens to get that kind of player at the bottom six for the Montreal Canadiens. If I really want the team will be better and better, you need those kind of players on the top. And when you go to the playoff, where you bring speed, everything. Look what he did with the Colorado Avalanche. 22 years old, win the Stanley Cup. Already play over 25 games, I think, in the playoff already at 22 years old. Those kind of experience, Mr. on top, it's rare.
And they're needed. They're needed in order to get to the next step. Not too many teams come out of nowhere and win the cup. They have that experience. They have to first experience failure and then move to the next stage.
Yeah, absolutely. What about this one? That Glenn said, I would like to see Montreal get another good offensive defenseman for the start of the season. Glenn, I don't know
Won't
why,
happen.
because they already set up. And, if you do that, you have to send maybe Jacky, Iris, or another prospect they have at Laval if you open up an
Kovacevic.
offensive player like you're talking about. I think with Madison, they have already this good. They're going to get Coley now at 100%. That would be a good asset over there. And they are already Justin Barron. So he put them all three together. They have those kind of offensive players. I'll be disagree with you, but I can understand your point of view. Which you afraid are stay in Montreal? The only one I would say to you right now is going to be Belzile, but maybe more play at Laval Rocket if he signed with the Montreal Canadiens, or the fact that Drouin will be out, Byron will be out, TNA will be out, and then the last one is Belzile. Do I miss one, Mr.
Gurianov.
Tap?
Gurianov, did you mention?
Well, he's a RF3. So,
Oh, right. Yeah.
right? But now you're going to become a UF3 if you don't get an appreciation from the Montreal Canadiens. Woody said that Gary Bryce was in the land last night that gave the ad a high market with getting new hook. When you look at him, being a winner of the St. Cup and the 16 over pick in 2019. The salary cap is going to 83.5 next season. No trade, no really, because everyone is not being salary for cap space for sure. Actually, he does not have a family. Laval either. Luc Lafortune, that's the reason he's coming to Laval. Look, look, he make me laugh sometime about that one over there. RJ with some kind of update right now. Thanks so much, RJ. Don't forget Dobez at the goalie. We don't talk about him. Jean-Maurice, you're absolutely right about this. He came on my attention a bit earlier. Someone talk about him. Dobez is a draft by the Montreal Canadiens in 2020 with I think he is a goaltender for OIU State for the last couple of years. 6'4", 6'5", goaltender. Have a great years with OIU State. A lot of great potential to become a good goaltender. We'll see what he's going to do this year. First year professional. Going to play with the Laval Rocket. He's going to fight for the spot with Caden Primo. And I don't know if you want to add something about Dobez, Mr. ENORTAP.
Yeah, he's a big boy. If I'm not mistaken, he might be 6'6". But hopefully he develops.
He's not 6'6".
What they're. He's not.
No.
Okay.
I'm sure about that one over there.
For some reason, maybe
no.
I'm confusing him with somebody else. But he's supposed to be a very good prospect, and hopefully he develops. And he needs opportunities. He's got to play, at least a couple more years down in the minors, and then be given an opportunity up in the big league.
You're absolutely about this one there. Sometimes I wrote Dobez the wrong way about that. Mr. ENORTAP should confirm with you. He's 6'4".
6'4"? Okay.
Yeah, 200 pounds, 22 years old, was drafted at Montreal Canadiens in 2020. 136 about him. So I just want to mention to you, New Hook at Madison.
The other interesting thing, Coach, is with Christian Dvorak. This is really the interesting piece, I think, right now, because his no trade clause that kicks in on July 1st. So what's he at now? I think he's at $4.5 million per year, which is not a bad contract. I think it's something that teams could swallow if they want to make a trade for a third line a centerman. And you might get something of a decent value, not great value, but decent value in return, whether it's a pick or a young prospect. I think something could happen here with the trade deadline time. Well, it has to be before July 1st, otherwise that no trade clause kicks in. So,
yeah, a second round pick in return, I would be something like that, or another prospect could happen with that part over there. Montreal have to move some player for sure before the season anyway. He could be one of them. John asked, would you trade Armia? If not, then what would be a role with the Montreal Canadiens?
Of course I would trade him. The problem is his contract makes it very untradeable. That's the big issue right there. And it's also his inconsistency, because when he decides to play, I mean, this guy is very streaky. He'll give you sometimes 6-7 games where he puts in 5-6-7 goals all at once. He works that way, but the problem is he doesn't do it anywhere near consistently and without any sort of frequency, as we saw last year. It wasn't until towards the very end, I think he had maybe 7 or 8 games and he put in 6 goals or something to that effect, that he put some stats up. But maybe he should keep his jersey, his nationality jersey, below the Montreal Canadiens one, because whenever he plays on the national team, he's always at the top of his game.
Yeah, that's right. We have Mr. October, Reggie Jackson, and October, he is a Mr. May, Mr. ENORTAP, Joel Armia.
Yeah.
That's why he produced the most, or Miss April, about that one over there. So it will be interesting. But the fact you have 2 more years to go, he cannot go really well on the trade. He's going to be really role at the 4 line. But again, Martin, we like him a lot about what he bring on the table for specific role like a PK, and on the 4 line is set up there. Who start in the net? Carter, ask you this question, Mr. Tap. Who start in the net?
Who's going to be our starter? I still think initially it'll be Allen. I think Montembeault has made strides towards being the number 1, and justifiably. I think he really progressed quite a bit, and possibly is. But I think they'll start off the season with Allen and really manage his time and the number of games he plays. Because I think you're going to see probably an equal split of games between him and Montembeault.
Yeah, absolutely right about that. I agree with you for this one over there. Congratulations, Shaq. You have a great time over there. Thanks for sharing with us, and welcome back. And Mr. Randy N is in the house. He asked you this one, Mr. Tap. And 30 seconds, what do you think about Jekai, brother?
Oh, he's another big boy. He's tenacious. He's like a dog on a bone. He's not afraid to use his body. He's a pretty good skater from what I'm hearing. He's also, I think, 6'2", I want to say, just off the top of my mind.
Yeah, 6'2", 185.
I don't know what the family dinners were like, if ever he and Arbor got into disagreements, because I wouldn't want to be there.
Yeah, the work is sickness on top. Is there?
He's an energy.
He's a grinder.
He's an energy
those
guy.
kind of players like this. Go ahead.
My guess is he's going to replace Pizzetta in 1 or 2 years. That's what I think it is. On the 4th line, younger player with more energy and the ability to use his body more so than Pizzetta.
Yeah, absolutely about that. So you don't know you're going to make it. But I don't think we said, like, those kind of players you need at some point in your team. And hopefully he can, because he needs to develop his skill, he's talented. But again, look, his brother, he took him, at the last season of his his junior to become who he is, right?
That's right.
And Jacques have 1 more year to get there. So I think there'll be benefit for him. And then we'll see what he's going to develop for Randy. And do you think
if we get him,
I'm sorry,
if we get them together, we have better Wi-Fi. I think if they're both
the connection will be perfectly great. Yeah, no problem. I think my live streaming,
or maybe even, or dare I say, it's Snake Eye.
Do you think the trade for New Hook made them on track pick a defensive 5th overall pick? We are so deep on the defensive prospect. Yes or no, Mr. Tap? The trade of New Hook make the Montreal pick up Repacker.
No, I don't think that the two are connected. I think definitely Reinbacher was on their radar. And when they weren't able to pick up one of the top 3 centermen, they went right to plan B, which was Reinbacher.
You're absolutely right about this. Well, it's not our coach. We constantly see amazing college players who play well in junior, then separate and NHL. Is there any truth to get with your experience? Or we constantly see amazing college players who play well in junior and then disappear in the NHL. About this. Any comments you want to add before I add more?
Oh, Well, I think you mentioned it earlier, Coach. If you look at the draft alone, how many of these players that get drafted actually make it to the NHL level on any line? It's probably, I want to say, maybe around 20 to 25%
Yeah.
out of the first round and second.
Yeah, the best thing I would say to Willie is like the NCAA. It's a league with many teams, and yeah, just one example, right? Maybe what 53, 54, I believe, Mr.
Yeah,
Zap. All right.
yeah, I think so.
And that kind of the team they have, maybe I would say to you, 20 of them are really good program hockey. Talking about Boston College, Minnesota, Michigan, I can go all the way. Like the solid hockey, right? And the talent players, guys, had to be an exception like anything. Come from the CHL, come from QM, from the OHL, the WHL, to make the NHL. So the ratio of the players is the same thing if you consider this, Willie. They play well in the USHL, they play well in the QM or OHL, or they play well and then they go to the NCAA college, they commit there, and then they just stay there because they can't go nowhere after that. They go to play after the European League and then they go play maybe KHL. It's just difficult. It's a worldwide. Only for 700 or 900 players can make the NHL at the end. And the NCAA, it's not easy. At least you're an exception. The development there is limited. Whatever, because it's just, that's the reason, Mr. ENORTAP, player play only 1 year, 2 years. It's rare you play 3-4 years over there because the development is not considered very well. It's one kind of league. We talk about the AV League, the East League, the Big Ten over there. They have different kind of division in the NCAA, and every division has some kind of talented skill, or not talented, but the degrees of the level of hockey is different, and sometimes it's hard. You can play a game, like example, like you play with a low team, and you can beat them like easy 6-0. They have no competition over there, and maybe you play against a team is on the top. I would say to you, not the three line of the opponent team are great, and that's sometimes the lack of the talent and the NCAA complicate the things. If you have only 16 team or 22, 32 team in the NCAA, the talent will be so much better, and that's the reason many of them never make the NHL. At the end, that's maybe the best explanation I can give it to you about the NCAA for that part. But the top of the top, they do well at the end, and they go through the NCAA program really easily. They make the NHL. It's like anything else, Mr. Tab. I don't know if you want to add something else.
No, I think you summarized that well.
Dude said, Amir play out contract. At least you can get him away. Yes, it's very difficult to trade a player like him with 2 years to go at $3.4 million. Amir Koukarian, the towels won't get hurt. Coach look like he need a massage, A2. Not today, but maybe this weekend. I'm going to Colarn, possible. So returning at Colarn. Brown are not sign him, Luciano. The problem, Luciano, is maybe the money, and maybe Partosi is looking to maybe have a better possibility somewhere else for that one or that. And maybe they just said the Browns, I want to test in the market, and something could happen. I will be back here in Boston. We talk about Bertuzzi, Mr. ENORTAP, so I apologize I didn't share it with you about that one there. Talk about this, Randy talk about, do you think a Strubble could make the Habs this year, Mr. ENORTAP?
No, I don't think this year. I think he's still a year away, if he's even going to be with Montreal.
I agree with you. Do you see contract player moving? No chase tonight. No, tonight. No, not tonight. Tonight, guys, tonight, Mr. ENORTAP, round number 2. Do you know with who?
No, you. I don't want to go there.
With Rudolph, Mr. ENORTAP.
Rudolph.
Rudolph is still in town, Mr. ENORTAP. I got a phone call from him, and we're near round number 2, so Cole will be out tomorrow, and then I don't want to get there after that. I'm going to say something else, and maybe some people can listening this show. I cannot go there.
Now I know why you don't want to cover the UFA.
No, it's tomorrow night. Tomorrow night, but
you're gonna be asleep. Don't worry.
Maybe not. I'll be asleep, but I'll be something else, but somewhere else. I'll be not no connection, Mr. I need my Wi-Fi. I jack out with me for the weekend. Let's go back, Mr. Hotel. We'll finish the show with that. I apologize, guys. We have no Frenchy quiz today. We're really focusing on the NHL draft and everything. And with I sleep only 3 hours. I couldn't have no time to do this. And I want focus. You gave up maybe a better show for that. So we apologize. We'll be back properly next week at the same time. And by the way, Mr. Tap, the Montreal Canadiens development will be July 10 and 13. That's what we're going to follow this. And then Cole will be disappear around the 20 for 28 somewhere, somehow in Thailand, Mr. Tap. I'm still working on that. No room for trouble, trade bait material. That would be one area. It would be, I agree with you about this. A great way to say that. Carter, talk about this. Do you think trouble will get that one? I think, okay, I got this. I go back. Pessoa 2.0. Got that love Jakai brothers. If Amia could stay healthy, it could have a really good year, Mr. Tap.
I don't think it's necessarily a health issue with him. I think it's more, between the ears with him. Because given his size, his strength, like this guy's a hard guy to get the puck off of, and when he wants to really play, he can be a force to be reckoned with, and we've seen that in the playoffs. So I think it's more than just injuries. I think it's just having the right mindset to be active every single game, be involved, and a little bit more, with energy and enthusiasm. And I don't see that in him.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that one over there. 490 will be limited and no channel power play. So I think it will be limited about the point outcome, everything like that. Thanks so much, Jean-Maurice. Randy, and I hope it will be happening too for next season for that one over there. Pavilion 67 in Montreal. Look at David was always top 5 in this draft. App don't have a top 4 right away defenseman. This pick was smart and they scored him all year. Carter, you nailed it. By the way, Carter, I think it's the first time tonight the Hockey Nation show, the Ab Nation, we welcome you. Thanks to join us tonight, Carter. Don't forget to subscribe and click on the like. And we do a show, guys, every Monday night, every Wednesday night about the Montreal Canadiens. And then Sunday, Tuesday, we talk about the NHL. So that's happening here, Mr. Tap. I went there at the Expo 67. Look, I did not go there. Andy Koivula is in the house, Mr. Tap. Welcome back, AK.
Yeah, Mandy.
Probably we have the top 10 draft pick for the 2 more years, Mr. Tap.
Next year, I think they have, I want to say 11 again. 11 picks, if I'm not mistaken.
No, he's talking about the top 10 pick next season, like the next 2 years. You have the top 10 picks, so he's going to be finished, example, like 23rd, 24th, 25th in the ranking, and they're going to select the top 10. That's what I can see that.
Oh, okay, yeah. If that's the case, I would say probably next year, but not the year after.
I would say next year, and we'll see after that. I will not say to him yes, and I won't say to you you're right, because I think it's 50-50. Something could happen the next 2 years before we go there. The roster, everything like that could change 2024. So, but he is right. For me, he is right about next season, like you said, Mr.
Yeah, and the problem also is that not just the Atlantic, but the entire East Conference is so hard. Like there's many good teams, and even the ones that perform poorly have now are at least the 1 or 2 stages ahead of Montreal. And I'm talking about the teams like Ottawa and Buffalo, and obviously New Jersey, and who am I missing in that equation? Like there aren't too many teams that you say, okay, you know what, for sure next year Montreal will jump over this team in the Atlantic or this team in the East, even if they improve their play.
Yep, so right. I agree with you about that one over there. Mac Babino, Mr. Tap, is in the house, Mr. Tap. Welcome back, Mac Babino. Welcome. Don't forget to click on the likes, everybody. How you doing? Just got here. We're doing great. Coach is in great shape. Absolute Hockey is in the house. Welcome back. went live yesterday. You missed it. Ab, thanks to be with our Canadian show. Don't forget to click on like. Everyone are hurt by having to spend so much dollar and PASNAK, $11. So you have the who played with the Montreal Canadiens first, Rebecca or Hudson?
Probably, I would say it might be close to the same time, but maybe Hudson. He's got that extra year now under his belt, and
I would say
might not
Rebecca.
be as far as we think.
I would say Rebecca.
I still think he's 2 years away, Coach.
He's going to be
Not
with a part. He
because-
will be a roster Montreal Canadiens 2024, 2025.
Now, what might benefit him is the fact that he's a right-handed defenseman. And there is that need on Montreal to have that right-handed defenseman. I think that was part of the thinking as well when they drafted him. Had he been a left-handed defenseman, I don't think they would have gone with him.
I was said at the same time when you said that, I was thinking more because my other tip is because Savard and his contract happening after that.
Yeah.
So that's the reason I would go Rebecca over. Great question, by the way. John, very kind of you. Brown's got so many team-friendly deal over the year. Could not do it with PASNAK. You absolutely do about this. John, Mark said, John, he said Rebecca. Where do you rank the Avalanche in the draft, Willie? I don't know kind of if you want to go that way, Mr. ENORTAP. For them, for me, it was just an average draft, but an average. Yeah. I would give them B for me for what they select yesterday.
Yeah, probably right.
Because they don't have a first round pick, low pick, right? It's only 27, 28, whatever it was. And then they get the selection of 37 ENORTAP. So, well, they give to them, they got the number 31. I think they got David Engstrom, I believe, no?
I think they did, yeah. I believe so. I'd have to look at the list. I can't remember right now.
Absolutely. Ghislain Laframboise, welcome. Ghislain, depend on the injuries. Great point, Ghislain. Thanks to be with our Canadian show. Don't forget to click on the like and subscribe to the show. Glad to having you aboard. Don't forget, we have a new website, a new channel. It's called the Ab Nation. It will be live in the next couple of weeks. Hudson too small for Luc Laverson. Hudson will play again in college next year. You're absolutely right. He returned with the Boston College. Ghislain, about that 46 likes. We enjoyed that. Thanks so much, everybody, for the likes. Do you think that would be the greatest injury? Carlo is back in the house. Carlo will come back. Who would be the player the Abs will market and hype? The Abs currently have 0 real superstar. Let's be real honest here.
I would say a lot of their defensive players. I mean, you signed. They have been doing that with Suzuki and Caulfield. I can see that continuing. Doc is at that stage as well. There's a few. You're right. There isn't that absolute superstar on the team, but you got to market what's you've worked on the most, and that's your defensive core at this stage.
Yeah, but first of all, the team is rebuilding. When you're rebuilding, you have no superstar. Usually, at least you get a Bedard or you get a McDavid, everything like that, right? But they are all the potential. Maybe one of them become a really solid hockey player in NHL. I think if you look about the forward, I would say Caulfield, Doc, and Suzuki are really the top 3 there. I think the defenseman, you have to go Rebecca and Coley. They are the 2 best defensemen for the Montreal Canadiens. Then you're going to see how you're going to develop with MEILLEUR and Barron. But to become a superstar in NHL, we don't have a guarantee are going to be one of them. And that's the only one yesterday. It was only Bedard. The rest can become a great hockey player. Can Fenty become the Jack Hughes? Can Will Smith become Jack Hughes? Can Carlson become Jack Hughes? The potential was there for them. Mishkov, can he become a Jack Hughes? It all depends how you're going to do. But when you consider your point of view, true, you have no 0 there. About that. I think Caulfield, if he scored 5 seasons at 40 goals, Mr. ENORTAP, you have to consider him like a super special player now. Adrien Bartolo, new subscriber to Hockey Nation Show. Thank you.
Welcome.
Then again, that Mark can talk about the top 10. Claude Richard, thank you so much to be with us tonight. Glad having you. The smarter you are, especially in defense, you better be a very good Woody. And that's what is Luc Lane Hudson. Some player make it very well in NHL. To Quinn Hughes did it, and many others. Lane Hudson have the potential to be a solid defenseman in NHL. Can he become a 60 point, 50 point? I don't know yet. But he has the potential to be very good. Luc, thanks so much, Gislain Framboise. We're very kind of you to do that. They must be after him. I like Caulfield, Doc is key, but any other elite top tier team, they have two second liner about that one over there. I'll be disagree with you about that one over there. I think Caulfield, guys, if he scored 26 goals last year, if he was considered to play like this, he would score 45 goals. How many players score 45 goals in NHL the second line? Not many of them. So
Not many. No.
The potential of Caulfield, that's what I feel is better or increasing Suzuki and Doc. That would be something about that. If we go, Mr. Tap, is done deal. Gislain, welcome in the house tonight.
Gislain, welcome.
Thanks so much, Luciano. Carlo Tampa is really good at getting really good players. They've been there for sure, Carlo, on that one over there. We can finish, Mr. Hunter. We have 9 minutes. I'm going to go there and finishing that over there. We talk about everything for the Montreal Canadiens tonight. Let's say about this one over there. I would say the team winner of the NHL draft. I would like to see. I have two teams here. The Columbus Blue Jackets is one of the team I think. They are the winner of the contest. Fantilli, Brantley, Whitelaw, Stroman, two teammates play together a young stud. And I forgot about Pinelli is another one. Brantley play with Fantilli guys with Michigan. And he loved Brantley. And that's the reason they select him. Unfortunately for him, is another 5'7" player. But he grew up with a Fowler on the team and Florida Alliance AAA many years ago. And Brantley always be the catalyzer of that team. He was carrying that team all the way. I know you have other players, like Brown, play on that team, but never make it. But Brantley, guys, is a really small player at the level like Mangiapane or the Brain Cat. But he's so talented for him. But I think Columbus, Mr. Jacket, and Mr. ENORTAP is a winner. I will give you another two teams here. The San Jose Sharks with Smith, Musty, and Altonen. I think they did very well. And the Philadelphia, we got with Mishka, Bonk, and B. Jonathan. You get a defenseman, you get a forward, and you get a defenseman, a goalie. So what do you think? I know the team pay your attention more to anything else as the team winner.
Yeah, I was thinking of exactly those three teams, but I would even throw in Seattle in their coach. I know they picked Edward Saleh and Carson Redkampf, Oscar Fisker, Mogart, Lucas Dragicevic, and then even Caden Price at 84 was a good pick. So I would put Seattle in that mix as well. I think they had a very successful draft.
Yeah, I agree with you about that one. Then we're going to answer to John. He asked you this question, Mr. Antap. Can Rebecca become a Shea Weber or Piquet Subban?
Two different types of players. Definitely. I mean, he might not have the same type of shot Weber did, but he's got pretty much this similar size, a little bit shorter than Weber. Plays the same type of physical game. He's good defensively, very good actually. I think the potential's there.
The potential there, I don't say Piquet Subban because skating of Subban is not the same level
not Subban.
Like him over there.
No, Weber.
Shea Weber is defensive. He was a hammer in front of the net. I don't see Rebecca. For me, if you want to compare him, John, we said, listen, look about David Tays on one side, look at Brett Pesci for the Carolina Hurricane. That would be the two compare on both sides of the game for me. So David Tays first pairing, and then you have Pesci second pairing. Andre K. Miller is another one you can see what, and then some compare him to Adam Lawson, another pairing in each other. You have Soraya Carlin and Panarin is one of them, but again, how many teams carry on those kind of 40 goals? Not many of them at the NHL. How many young players get to develop in the NHL? They will be first-time caliber through experience, Carter. Not many of them, honestly. It's rare. You have to be exception at the rules to become that kind of players. My winner, Arizona with a Simachev, but a rebel only for 3. That one. What do you think about Arizona, Mr. Tap?
Confusing. I thought that they took a lot of long shots with their picks. Not that they're bad players, but I just thought that they came off the board a little bit too early. Maybe that's what they wanted to target. I don't know, but it was a bit confusing.
See, I consider Arizona a loser team for me, in my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because they get the direction where they don't know what happening with Bot and Simachev. For me, it's they could have an opportunity to go so much better overall. They make a risk to go with Russia. We'll see. And then for me, Toronto. They select, is it Easton, his first name? Cohen?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
He was a second round pick. He's really talented, is for sure. But I don't think so. Is the right pick at that pick. They select him. In my opinion, I think he should go. And then they pick another players, guys, at the 5th round where he was not in the map. Nobody know about him anyway. I don't know.
Yeah,
Toronto for me was not.
Noah.
Whatever. They don't have a lot of pick. And
I think it was Noah Chadwick.
Yes, exactly. So
Yeah.
I don't know. It's two team about this for me. For Arizona, Toronto. I don't know if I don't put Boston. They have no pick really. Any other team you thinking did not do well overall?
Yeah, I was thinking of Boston, but you're right. In all fairness, they didn't have many selections. I think they only had 3 in total. So it makes it very difficult unless you're going to trade up, and I don't think that that's the direction they're going. After the disappointing playoffs, not the year, because they had a absolutely fantastic year, but the playoffs, I think they have a bad taste in their mouth right now, and they're going to try to go all out and replicate what they did last year. But more importantly, in the playoffs, they have to do better, and I think they're capable. And it looks like they're going to be very active on Saturday.
Yeah, I'm sorry about this. Carlos, about the Bencat, he never scored 40 goals. He scored 27 goals with Ottawa this year, 28. Secondly, when he was with Chicago, he was on the first line. Thirdly, I would say Tkachuk never scored 40 goals. I think so, Mr. On top, right?
Brady or Matthew?
I'm sorry again?
Brady or Matthew?
Brady.
Brady, no, I don't think he put in 40, no.
Yeah, I don't think so too.
No.
I will verify, but I don't think so. I want to be sure, but that's he has a 35 goal this year, Mr. Tap, and he had 30 goal. So that's the reason I sent bring to you, Carlos. I can understand your point of view about this, but Coach, what about Detroit pick number 4 and top number 42? For that, Detroit is another one with their pick. I really like what they get in Danielson for sure. That's a good selection. 17. I cannot remember who they get number 17. Remember, Mr. Tap?
Yeah, let me look it up. I have the list.
17. Here. They get Detroit. Sendin Pelika. Yeah. So this is a good pick about this. I agree with you, William. It's a take again. We just mentioned a couple of teams. You can go with many other teams, and I'll be agree. I think St. Blues with 2 center, they did very well. In my opinion, 3 of them. Rangers forgot their plan. Curious about where the Brincat goes, Luciano. What do you feel about the Brincat, Mr. Tap?
Well, I definitely think he's looking to get out of Ottawa at this stage, and they're going to try to accommodate as much as possible. I was hearing a rumor that they were looking towards Washington with the possibility of Wilson coming to Ottawa, which would be a great pickup for Ottawa, I think, because that really rounds out their lines and adds that physical dimension, a player that's been to the playoffs and knows how to win, and dishes out the punishment when he has to. So that would be a great move for both teams, actually.
Yeah, Detroit will be interesting if they can get him too for that one. Willie said, we apologize. We said earlier Ekstrom. I think he went to Vegas, but Colorado select Michael Kuliev for the Russian tour. I think, Willie, this is the key for them. Callum Ricci will be fine, but I think Kuliev is the one I think you can have, remember, at the pick late and the first one going to be a very solid player in the NHL. That's a tighter player that the Colorado love to have as a defenseman, move the puck very quick. Maybe one of the best skater as a defenseman on that draft, by the way. And not too much about Emish Shimnikov, but I think it will be fine. Carlos, you talk about Eric Feld. This is an interview was did on RDS, Mr. Tap. I don't listen anything, so I don't know what I know that. But Eric Feld, he played with David Rebacker, compare Rebacker to Jose. He's really impressed the way he's developed the last couple of months with the team over there. So I just want to share with you about this. Maxime Lapierre, he's impressing by playing that league many years. He considers Rebacker a solid player. And when the reason they compare to Jose, Mr. Tap, Jose, Rebacker have more points at Jose when he played that in the NL. That's the reason to talk about this. They bring back to Chicago.
Yeah.
Interesting about that. I don't think so. Look, they will get back the Brent Cap.
No, I think that ship has sailed.
Absolutely right about this. Jonathan Tay sounds like he will retire. Luciano, it's very possible. Could have that one. Ghislain said, Mr. Notat, the former AB Mario Tremblay, while playing on the last AB dynasty, said first line should be a 40 years old, second line should be a 30 years, third line should be a third line, and 10 gold. Yeah, that's a possible that way. It's not easy to build that formula, but he is right about this. Was said, Mario Tremblay announced his retire as a public figure and retire an analyst at the Réseau des Sports RDS, and now play golf every day with his buddy Larry Robinson at the golf at the Fort Lauderdale, Ariel, DV, whatever it is right now, Mr. Tap, and then that's happening about this one. Philippe prêche pour sa paroisse, Luc Lafortune. About it, Eric Feld fait une entrevue RDS sur Backer. Yes, that would be great with a Kraken. That would be interesting if they go that direction about this. Jean-Maurice Simachev, one of the best skater, but at best strong, or best goalie available. Jean-Maurice, for that. Toronto has a bad shape for player making half of the team's cap. Arizona did not so much better last year. This year was where Mac Babino. About Arizona, Simachev for me is to Rebecca. Jean-Maurice, well, he's going to be a really good hockey player. Another would be Mo Sol Tap. Do you feel that way or not?
I don't think so. I just think, I mean, it's a movable contract, given the amount that he has on there. But I'm not sure that they're going to go that direction. If Dubas was still there, I'd say yes. But I think Trey Living might just run out the same four again this year, and just try to build on the depth rather than parting with one of the top four.
I would say to you, I'm not sure yet, and I would say exactly what Luciano said. The problem with him, he have to sign a contract. He become a UF free next season, and he want more. He want the $9 million. And I'm not sure with the new contract with Matthews, they can get there. And I think that would be the reason they would trade Nylander. Three possibility for the Nylander to be trade for me. He would be the Washington Capitals. It's going to be the Seattle Kraken. It's another team. It can be trade over there for, on my opinion. And the third team, I don't know yet, Mr. Top.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The third
Magic
team,
Predator,
which, in terms of a trade partner, you're talking about? Oh,
I don't know. I see right now the Seattle Kraken is on top, and I see really now the Carolina Hurricane wasn't the part of this max up. The Rangers could be another team could looking for, well, not Nylander, but Nylander could be the Rangers. But the connection with Cadbury, the coach in Washington and Toronto could be the reason why Nylander could get there.
Yeah, maybe. I don't see Carolina because he doesn't fit. He doesn't fit their defensive style. That's probably the only liability in his game right now.
Yeah. Jean-Maurice, the only reason we said that is because you don't know what's happening with them. with it's a project maybe not come back right away, and that's the reason I believe they could go with other direction to use Simachev number 6 because they really want a defenseman. It was Ray Backer, and they go with Simachev because Ray Backer was out of the list, and I don't know. I think they could go other way. But they go with Russian. Would be interesting about this. They don't have no money anyway, so they want more long time. If they come back, they'll be interesting. Professor Matchev, Evan Wenender Kepelika. Alex Newhook, Jose, number 18, retired is 81. That'll be interesting about this for sure. He's not retired, 81, by the way. You're going to be fine. Code 46 again, 26 gold for the gold players. Carter, agree. Coach, Montreal draft did pick a consensus top defenseman. A pick up a new hook. He did pick 3 goalie. 2 of them have super stat. Well said, Jerry. This is really what they're looking for. We knew that both teams, they are looking for that. I agree. I'm going to set quite too many of them, Luciano. RJ 48, Suki 60 pass, 44 assist, playmaker, Carter. Mario Tremblay last us play what I would always hate him. About this both are still developing, both are waiting to have first fine, height, strong words, Carlos. The curse of the Saint Patrick. I hate Serge Chavard more for what he did. Duki Lafleur, here we go. If they keep the core 4, they have to learn anything yet again, and the extra cap won't be because the new contract will cost more anyway. We have said about this one there. Jacob Larson saying 1-year contract, Mr. Tap, you know that. The app should be do all the can they acquire Valérie Nicochon for the playoff. $6 million, Carlos. I will not touch his money about this one there. Luc Lafortune, pourquoi? OK, en français. Get rid of Josh Anderson, 5.5 million. Acquire Valérie Nicochon for 6.2. Carlos. I will not do that. We don't know if he's going to be back anyway. Sabre draft a player who said he modeled his game after Nicochon for real deal. Talk about that one there. Mr. Tap, we just crossed the 10:07. Coach, what are your thoughts on Ray Backer? Let's just men's 37 pop up, Mr. Tap. And we welcome you. Don't forget to click on the like. That'll be awesome. That'll be the last question of the night. Any comments about Ray Backer before I jump after that, Mr. Tap?
Go ahead. Take it away, Coach.
Are you sure you're tired to talk? That's what the reason you want to talk about this.
No.
You get a solid defenseman on the defensive zone. Really great on the cap control. Skating above average. He moved the puck very well. What I said to that, his first pass is really good. Offensive side of the game, he have some kind of upside down. He can score, have a good shot. For me, he's become a great two-way defenseman. Similar I him, low. It could be Adam Larson or Brett Petchik, and then or André Kimmerer. And higher, he can become a Roman Ozzy, a Preningelo, and I missed one on my highs, Roman Ozzy, Preningelo. So this is the way the Ray Backer can become for the Montreal Canadiens. Now, on the lineup for the Montreal Canadiens is going to be was second pairing, could be with Lane Hudson, and my expectation to be a first pairing with Caden Coley and the future. That would be my expectation for David Ray Backer. In my opinion, right now, is the best top prospect as a defenseman for the Montreal Canadiens. And if I miss something, Mr. Tap, you can mention something else.
No, I think you hit most of the key points there.
About this Nicochon charge have been dropped. Is claimed to play coach. Yeah, the chart it would be is already dropped about this. He have possibility to come back, but again, at $6.2 million with the salary he get and the money he has is what 27, 29 possible. I would not touch this. I would prefer to give a chance, possibly for young players. I already have Logan Mailloux. Will have problem players. I want a real quiz by ENORTAP about ab history, Mr. ENORTAP. Maybe one day
you got it, Luke. You got it.
We'll go that direction, Mr. Luke, about this. I say it's contract coach. I'm just enjoyed with a new hook with Avalanche. I need more prospect. I need more weight, Carlos. We're not ready for that one, by the way. But we'll see about this, Carlos. We respect your opinion. Mr. Tap, you're welcome, listener. Hopefully that answer you very well. Mr. Tap, before we leave, what are your expectations for UFA for the Montreal Canadiens? We talked briefly about this earlier, but before we get out here, what are your expectations for them?
not much movement. I don't think it'll be very active for them. It might be for the other teams, but this year's group is also not stellar, so I don't expect a lot.
You're absolutely about this one, guys. Next show, it should be Sunday night. Until then, if something changes, we'll let you know. Check your notification. Don't forget, we have a new channel. It's called the HABS Nation. We're going to create video the next couple of weeks. And this, Mr. ENORTAP, it would be impossible, the show, without so much great people in the chat. We want to thank everybody in the chat. Great knowledge, guys. New subscriber, Mr. ENORTAP. And then we have the moderator, all part of the show tonight. So thanks so much, everyone, to be a part of the show. And of course, the two co-hosts with me tonight, Mr. ENORTAP, the amazing Mr. ENORTAP, and of course, Mr. Marco Larrabee left the building because of the dog, but Marco, another great for the Hockey Nation show. But we want to remind you one more thing. You are awesome. You are amazing. You are the best. And remember, you have greatness inside of you. Here we go, Mr. ENORTAP. You have greatness inside of you. What a great week at the Hockey Nation Live show. We go through the NHL draft, and now we are targeting the UFA before we go to Montreal Canadiens hockey development happening July 10th to July 13th. Don't forget, guys, my video every day at Daily News. A video we produce every morning at 7 a.m. And that's complete, Mr. ENORTAP. Another great show of the HABS Nation. Until the next time, guys, we want to remind you, be well, BL. Find a way not only dominate your day, but find a way, Mr. ENORTAP, to dominate the first half of what?
Your 2023.
You did it again. Have an amazing, great night, everybody. Have an amazing, great weekend. And of course, remember, the Hockey Nation show with the HABS Nation said to you, we love you, people. Have a great night, Mr. Friends.
Good night, Coach. Good night, Hockey Nation.
Thank you, Mr. R.J. Calabro, again, for all the information. Luciano Carter, bonne nuit, mon homme. Thierry Willette, Jean-Maurice, Luciano again, Willie Snyder. We have Justin Laframboise, merci beaucoup. J'espère de te revoir bientôt. AK, welcome back. Carlos, what a great to have you in the chat tonight. Love you, analyze about hockey. Lotus Mens, welcome back again. Thanks so much. Real deal, of course, Willie Snyder. Try to pick it up, everybody, before we leave the building. Here we go. Booyah!